Where did I put my glasses? No, not those. My wine glasses. Mm. Oh, thank you. Now pass me the wine. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Where Did I Put My Glasses? I am your host, Carmen, and I am here with Zach, the host of Wind Down Wednesdays on Instagram Live and co host of 20s Hour Podcast. She's also a curator of events, basically, the woman who does it all while tackling all the tough topics. How are you today, beautiful lady?
I'm great. I'm doing awesome. I'm just so happy to be here and so happy to be on Where Did I Put My Glasses?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Um, Please tell the people like where to find you.
All right. So my handle is at Wind Down Wednesday underscore, spelled exactly the way it actually is. And then for my other pod that I do with my girl Shy, 20s Hour Pod, no underscores or anything like that, just 20s Hour Pod. And you can find us on all streaming services. And then for my Wind Down Wednesday, which obviously I do every Wednesday with a glass of wine and a co-host, you can find me on Instagram for that.
So, guys, I met Zach through for the purpose of the show. Do you want me to call you Zakia or Zach? Because I know I listen to 20 Hours Pod, so Shy usually calls you Zach. So I'm like, okay, which one would you like me to call you today?
Thank you for asking, but honestly, my whole family, like literally everyone who knows me calls me Zach. Like people who know me call me Zach. So you could call me Zach. That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you for asking though. But
Okay.
yeah, girl, that's good.
Okay, perfect. So I met Zach through my BFF Maciel, who is no longer with us right now. That's a different podcast for a different day. But how did you and Maciel meet again? It was through work, right?
Yeah, so Maciel and I met at the time. I think I was actually in my first couple years of college, fresh out of high school, first couple years of college, and I needed a job. And my best friend at the time was working at a restaurant in Garden State Plaza. Those of you that are from Jersey, y'all know Garden State Plaza is like the mall to go. Everybody goes there, and so
even in New Yorkers go there too.
Yeah, they do. It's like literally such a huge mall. It attracts everyone from all over the area. So my best friend at the time had said like, hey girl, like, we looking to hire servers and hostess. Like, my manager is really cool. Like, I'm sure, like, as long as you go in there and don't act the ass, you'll definitely get the job. So I was like, all right, bet. So I went to the interview and literally like, Maciel interviewed me and she literally asked me like very basic few questions, but I feel like we both felt each other's vibe and she really liked my vibe and I really loved her. She was like, girl, you're hired. And literally she was like one of the best managers I ever had. And even after I stopped working there, she and I stayed in contact. We spoke on the phone, we texted, we talked on social media, and she just always supported everything I did. So it was just like so great that like I met someone through work and that person became like, a lifelong friend, in a way.
And I was talking about that on one of the episodes, how hard it is to be friends with coworkers. So I know when you're able to maintain that relationship throughout the working experience and after, that means it was a good relationship.
Girl, yes. You know how it can get kind of tumultuous on the job, especially with like, people who are like your managers. But she was such like a great person and really like understood people and didn't like, she knew how to assert her authority when she needed to, but like she wasn't somebody who was like, a jerk about it. Like she knew how to like appeal to people, like I felt like. And so everyone always loved her. Everyone gravitated towards her.
So Moxie was on your Instagram live show with Wind Down Wednesdays to discuss Afro Latinas, I believe.
Yeah.
And what was the actual topic? I watched that episode and that's what made me start watching it like every week. I was like, oh, I like this.
So I believe the actual topic was worded, why do some Caribbean and Latinx have a hard time accepting their blackness?
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that Maciel and Maciel's Dominican, and I don't know if she was 100% Dominican or just half Dominican. Well, you would
She was
probably know better.
100%. She was 100% Dominican, mother and father born and raised, but she identified as African American.
Right. So, there was something that she and I had talked about often, like, throughout the course of her and I knowing each other. So it was like when I started my show, I was looking to have different topics. I didn't want my show to only be about relationships and, sex. So I wanted to get deep on certain topics. So when I thought to have, that show, I'm like, Maciel would be perfect for this. And she did such an amazing job explaining, as someone who comes from an Afro-Latina background, what it's like, growing up in that environment, hearing certain negative things being said about, being darker tone or having curlier texture, like anything that associates with blackness. So we were really delving into that. And like, I'm Jamaican, my mom's Jamaican, my dad's South American. He's from a country called Guyana. So even though I'm look more darker skin than Maciel, I still have, like, my parents still had like negative views towards like blackness and associating with blackness as well. So it was really interesting for us to just come together and share our perspectives on that, and it was a great conversation.
It was, and I feel like it opened a lot of people's eyes, because I feel like now in this day and age, right, people who aren't black want to be black now, only because I feel like we're in, and the people who are black are scared. I feel like they're just scared to be black because they're scared of that stigma, and that's just like my opinion. Not.
No, I agree.
And I'm so happy to be black, so I'm not a part of that. I'm proud of that, but I think that was like a tough topic, but it also opened a lot of people's eyes, especially in the Latin community, who definitely, and like you said, in the Caribbean community, they have a lot of time struggling with that belief that, hey, they are black. So that's why I said, guys, she tackles the tough topics. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, girl, it was really like what you said. Like you said that like everybody wants to be black now. That is so true, because you can see it down to like, the way that like a lot of non-black women, especially the more white passing, or the white women in general, literally are getting their lips done, they're getting their body done. And it's just like some of the stuff that like we as black women grew up being made fun of is literally becoming trendy. And they're getting glorified for it, while we're still kind of looked at as like, maybe even over sexualized for having those things. So yeah, it was really interesting to have that conversation with her, and I'm glad we had it.
Now, after Marcy was on that show, guys, she recommended me to Zach so I can promote Indira Skincare. And I thought that was so kind of you, honestly. When you say you're honored to be, I'm honored. I was honored. And I'm honored for you to be here, because that was so kind of you, and especially not knowing me. And I really enjoyed being on your show, and I enjoy listening when I can. Like, I listen more to the podcast because it's more convenient. And I'm all the way in California, guys. So sometimes the time Wind Down Wednesday is on, I'm just getting in from work. So I enjoy the podcast. That was easier for me. But I was just like so grateful, because I feel like you brought in a lot of traction to my Instagram, and then on top of that, you continuously still support me and still have become just like, we became like Instagram friends.
Definitely. Instagram girlfriend. Girl, if you was in Jersey, we would have been hanging out all the time.
Okay. And I would have definitely been trying. Let me tell you guys, I have a problem. I like to go out all the time, and I know it's bad. Like, if it's Friday, I'm there. Find me somewhere to be. I'm going to be there with a cocktail in hand. It's terrible.
Girl, me too.
What inspired you to start doing your shows? It's first Wind Down Wednesday came first. What inspired you to start that?
So what inspired me to start Wind Down Wednesday is that basically, during the pandemic, when everything was locked down, like at the height of the pandemic, when everything was locked down, I was just so depressed. I was so bored. I was so feeling like I wasn't accomplishing anything. Like, I'm working my 9 to 5, but I don't have anything on the side don't have anything on the side that I really, really enjoy and love doing. Like, you know, I didn't have any passion projects, but I saw all these people around me who, like, you know, they're working their 9 to 5 and maybe they're doing real estate on the side, or they're working their 9 to 5 and, you know, maybe they're even a party promoter. They're people who are, you know, passionate about that. So it's just like, I felt like I needed something, but I didn't want to just do anything that didn't align with who I was. So there was actually, you know, to give you the short of it, there was a guy who I followed on Instagram who wanted to start a podcast, and he was looking for a co-host. And I reached out to him. I'm like, look, you know, I feel like I've always been somebody who's been able to articulate myself very well. I would love to be your co-host. So him and I started coming up with topics, and we went live on Instagram to do like a mock trial for what, you know, our podcast would be like, to kind of see how the vibe was. And I just felt like I needed that for me to get over my fear of putting myself out there. Exactly. And I realized that this is exactly what I need to show myself that I can do something like this. And I felt so good while doing it. And so, like, you know, him and I didn't decide to like do anything to get to work together or collaborate, but, you know, that gave me the push. And so I reached out to my best friend and was like, girl, I want to go live. Like, I really want to do this. I want to start something. Can you do a show with me literally tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, girl, I'm down. She's like, what is it going to be about? I'm like, let's just talk about some of the stuff that we always talk about. So the first episode was like, working in a corporate workplace as a Black woman, because we all know that is a tough thing.
It really is. Oh, I actually tuned into that episode.
Girl, I'm telling you, that thing is tough. And that was the first episode. So, you know, I was wondering, like, when I was talking to her, I'm like, damn, what should we call it? What should we call it? And I'm like, well, I like wine. She likes wine. It's gonna be Wednesday. Let's call it Wine Down Wednesday. And literally that's how I started, and I haven't stopped since.
And let me tell you, her show is, she always has great wine ideas. I'm a red wine drinker, so I only drink red wine, and I'm trying to try different things. But if you need, even if you can't listen to the whole show, at least tune in and find out what wine she's drinking, because she always she always has something different. I like that. I love wine, but I love a particular wine. But
what's your favorite type of red wine?
Malbecs.
Oh, girl, me too. And Maciel put me onto that.
That was our thing. Was our thing. Now, I'll drink all others, but that for some reason, when it hits my palate, it doesn't matter what I eat it with, I'm fine.
Yes.
So that's my favorite.
Yes. And I always try to do like affordable wines too, just to let y'all know. I never do anything super expensive. Like, most of the stuff I drink is like $8, $9, $10, $20 the most, honestly.
See, that's it. So I have wine clubs. So out here in California, wine clubs are really popular because we have a lot of wineries here. Yeah. So if you do the wine club, like every quarter you can get like different wines. And I do try sometimes the white wines and the rosés, the rose. I always say rosé. I know it's rose wine, whatever.
Girl, are you serious? I thought it was rosé this whole time.
No, it's a rose. When I go to wineries, they say rose, and I don't know if it's because it's proper, but I say rosé.
Girl, me too, and I'ma still call it rosé. Period.
Okay. So, like, it helps a lot because sometimes you don't know what you're gonna like. You can think that you like one thing, and then you'll try different brands. So I get to try different brands. Right now, my favorite winery would be like Tooth and Nail and Paso Robles. That is my favorite, and not just for the wine, for the atmosphere. It's literally built like a castle.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I have to go.
It's beautiful, and they have great food. They have, I know it sounds simple, but they have like a bacon on a stick, but it is the best bacon. I don't know what they do. I don't know what kind of brown sugar they use. I've never had a bacon, and I've tried to make it at home, and it just doesn't do it.
Oh my gosh, that sounds banging.
Cracked bacon on a stick is like $2. I go and I get like 10, and I have my and the wine tasting is free for me up to 6 people because I'm a member. So if you're a member, you get like, I think a free, I forget how often you get a free wine tasting, but it's like up to 6 people. And of course you end up buying a bottle of your one you like. So it does help them because you end up, and then people end up joining. So it works out. But I love it. The atmosphere is amazing.
Oh my gosh. You got to take me whenever I come out to Cali to visit you.
Whenever you come out, because Paso's like mini Napa. It's like the cheaper version of Napa Valley. Even though I'm near Napa Valley, but it's like the cheaper version. It's little sister. It's Napa's little sister. Now, it's interesting how you started your podcast, because I started mine for the original one, Sit and Sit with SLPs. The one I started, I think it was like last year, for a project for school.
Wow.
And people would tell me, like, I like your podcast, but I don't want to hear about SOP stuff all day. I like when you talk your shit. And like, people literally told me that. They was like, why don't you do a podcast? And I'm like, I don't know if people want to hear it. And then I bit the bullet, and like, literally I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna start recording, I'm gonna start reaching out to people, and I'm just gonna do it because I enjoy it. So it's guys, it's all about, if you want to do something, just do it.
Girl, yes, that is exactly what I say. And you having those thoughts of like, oh, who would want to hear what I have to say? Girl, I definitely had those thoughts as well at the beginning, but it's so surprising to see we all live the same lives.
Exactly.
And like you think that certain things you're going through, like maybe I was alone in this, or like, even thinking about love life, like, oh, my love life is just effed and it's doomed and all of this. And then you start sharing, and so many people can relate. It's crazy.
Exactly. Like, oh, I went through that too. I'm going through that right now. And you never know what little thing you say, that small detail or that small piece of advice can just change someone's whole perspective.
Yep.
So, speaking of that, like, how do you come up with your topics for the shows?
So, a lot of the times, like I said, I feel like I've always been the type of person who, like, when I'm out with my girlfriends, we're talking about dating and stuff, but we're also talking about stuff that, like, really deep topics sometimes that we're like, damn, but why is this like this? And, why do people look at it like this? And so a lot of the times, if I'm having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine, or even a guy friend of mine, or my mom or aunt or a family member, I always try to, like, if a topic comes up that I want to hear more feedback on, I'll write it down and I'll be like, this would be a good topic for me to talk about on my show, or even to, like, pose as a question on my story, to get people talking and to hear different people's perspectives.
I think that's smart. So what I've been doing, and so I like your way. So I'm going to start, I'm stealing your strategy. That's going to be my strategy. I'm like, okay, because I do have interesting conversations with my friends and I enjoy that. But what I've been doing is tailoring the show to the person. Because the conversation, so you can have a topic, but doesn't mean that person knows how to answer those questions or even can add any value to that topic. Because if you're going to talk about something, if there's no value added, people are not interested. You can have, like, the most popular being in your area. If they have no value to add to that topic, it was a dead topic.
Girl, that is so real. And that makes me think about one of the worst shows I ever did, which was actually not even that long ago. It was so bad that after the show I cried.
No.
Yeah, I did. And it was because I feel like, the guy who I got to be on the show was a really popular guy. I'm not going to say his name. He was a really popular guy. And he's actually, I think, a comedian. And he, is from Philly. And I'm thinking, like, okay, his story should be inspirational to people. Like, he's a kid from Philly who made it pretty big. And I'm going to ask him to do, like, kind of like an inspirational, this is my story type of thing. But for some reason, the guy came on the show and it was almost as if he wasn't interested on being an inspiration to people. But, that goes back to what you're saying, is that, like, if you don't want to be that person, it's gonna come off if people are asking you certain type of questions that are pertaining to that. If you don't see yourself as that, it's just not gonna work. So I feel like it's true what you're saying. Like, sometimes with certain guests, you do have to tailor the show to them, instead of it being on a topic and forcing them into the mold of those types of questions, because he didn't receive it well at all. He didn't.
And he should, right? Well, we think, right? I would think, oh, if someone came to me and said, you know what, I want to do a show on all the SOPs from Yonkers, like, blah, blah, blah. I would like, oh, that's nice. But not everybody. I don't think every SOP from Yonkers would be like, you know what? Yes. Right. I want to, so that is true. That is true. Oh, I'm sad that you cried. That would have hurt my heart. Oh gosh. I don't like when people cry. If you start crying, like as soon as you start crying, like a tear come out. I'm like, oh, don't cry. You okay? I'm the worst person to cry in front of because we're
girl.
both
But
gonna be sad.
it was one of them things where it was just like, it was a learning experience. Like to up until then, I didn't feel like I really had any bad shows, but that was my first bad one that, like, to me, I felt like it crashed and burned. But it's a learning experience, and you take it on the chin. And I kept going. I said, all right, I can either say fuck this and I'm never doing a show again and give up something that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Exactly.
Or I can just say, you know what, things aren't always going to be exactly how I wanted it to be. And in the histories of all people doing interviews and panel discussions, there's always been at least one bad one that they had, at least.
Exactly.
So it's just a part of life.
And that's, like you said, like everyone is gonna have a bad one. And like when you become like the next Oprah, you're not even gonna remember that show. So
exactly. Exactly, girl.
So it doesn't even matter. Well, it does matter, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What I like about your show is how and like when I was on it, you made sure to ask questions that were thought-provoking, because I honestly, when I was thinking about those questions, I didn't think about those things for myself. Like, what is your branding? Like, what is it, like, things that I didn't even think about. I just started my business and it's just like, I needed to come back and start rethinking things. Like, oh, you know what? I never looked into this, and I need to build a brand portfolio and find out what this is and do. Like, you really helped. Believe it or not, you helped me.
Oh, wow.
Become a better business person, because some of those things I never thought about.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole purpose of, like, us who do shows like this, Where Did I Put My Glasses, Wind Down Wednesday, 20s Hour, is like to offer somebody a different perspective, whether it be in their business model or in life in general. Like, things that we never considered is now something that is brought to your attention. Like, I've had guests on my show who like made me consider a totally different point of view than the one I came into the show with. And I think that that's what's so beautiful about podcasting and talk shows, is that we are creating a safe space where we can learn from each other simply by listening.
Exactly. And you make it easy. You make it look easy to talk about the hard stuff, honestly. Like, I sometimes when I'm thinking about the person and thinking about what we're going to talk about, sometimes I will have an idea and I'm like, do people want to hear about that, or would they feel comfortable? I'm gonna go with this. So you make it easy to talk about the hard stuff, honestly, especially relationships. And I am a private person, but when you ask those questions, I'm all about them. Like, how do you come up with like those dating life perspectives? And I do watch your videos, your TikTok videos, and I like when you discuss your dating life, because it's like I'm living vicariously through you. But how do you build the confidence to talk about that stuff?
I guess what helps me build the confidence to talk about stuff like that, specifically pertaining to my dating life, is that I'm hoping I'm not the only one. As someone who's been single for going on 5.5 years now, I have seen a lot of things. I've dated many different types of men. I have tried every dating app there is to try. And so, when I'm going through these things and, sometimes I'm like, damn, like, why does it seem like my dating life is just shit? Like, I'm opening up about these things because I'm hoping somewhere out there, someone's like, girl, me too.
And we are. Because I watch your videos and I'm like, same. I'm telling you, sometimes the dating life, guys, it is no fun. Like, people say like, oh, being married isn't fun, or when you're in a long-term relationship, it isn't fun, it becomes boring. Right. Imagine meeting crazy. Have you ever seen that meme where there's plenty of fish in the sea, and then this is the fish, and it's all the ugliest?
Girl, yeah.
And it's not even about looks, it's more like personality, everything as a whole. People are just popped. They popped. And I hope people are not thinking that about me when they
Girl, no, they not thinking about that.
I'm not talking about myself, guys. I'm talking about no.
Oh my gosh, girl.
I feel we all have dated someone who has like brought out either someone who was either absolutely crazy or had brought out like some Christian Grey shit. Like, who was your absolute crazy? I know you don't want to say the name, but what was the experience?
Okay, so do you want me to answer crazy or Christian Grey? Because I feel like
we gonna get on both.
Okay.
We gonna get on both. I want to hear about your absolute crazy first.
Okay, so I would say it's a guy that I'm actually still talking to right now.
Ooh.
But I don't know. I guess this is kind of crazy, but yeah, I think this is the craziest I've ever done. So like I pulled up to his house, but I got to the parking garage because he lives in like a building with a private it's gated, but girl, they don't care because they be letting me in, I guess, because maybe they recognize my car, girl. So they be letting me in. So basically, okay, what happened is I went out on a date with one guy, and I liked the guy, but I didn't like the guy as much as this guy that I'm talking about. And so like I was leaving the bar with the guy I was on a date with, and I was supposed to be following him to go back to his house, and I actually ended up ditching him and driving to the guy's house that I'm telling you about. And so like I get to his house, they let me in the gate because like I said, they recognize my car. I get up into the parking garage where I always park my car when I go to see him, and I parked my car and I looked myself in the mirror. I said, wow, go home. I said, wow, go home. And so, I kindly reversed my car and drove back home. And, he doesn't know about that till this day, but I caught myself in the moment because I was planning on going up there, knocking on his door, and who knows what I was going to do. Like, it would have been very embarrassing. Like, that's it. So that's the craziest that I've done. The craziest thing I've done.
That's like sane. That's not crazy because like I don't know about I'm bugged out. Like I don't know if you I think everyone has said like I'm bugged out. So like I've done like guys, I'm so happy I've matured and I'm no longer that person. But let me tell you, I was dating a guy maybe about 2 years ago. And I don't know, something in my spirit told me like he is doing something I'm not gonna like, because he pretended to be, Haitian men, they could be real charming.
Oh God, yes, girl, I do know.
Guys, stay away. If a man is Haitian, stay away. Like as soon as he said, "Hey, run," and don't look back, because they are charmers and they don't mean it. I mean, and he was well off in life, nice looking, tall, just dark chocolate, just. You know what I mean? Really intelligent.
Yes.
Getting his PhD, owned his own home. Like he had it all together. And we just had like your show Chemistry versus Commitment.
Yes.
He was my chemistry. So I was all about him. Okay. Right. And like I was just all about him. And when we started dating, we went full throttle, like staying the night at his house. That was basically my house at that time. It's like, yeah, like we together. This is our home. We are a couple. Like, so, in my spirit, I felt like he was doing something. And I drove to his house. Now, my friend, she was a cop. Well, she's no longer my friend. She unfriended me and my friend group, but that's okay. But she was a cop at the time, and I was on the phone with my other friend. I said, I'm going over there. I've been drinking. And see, this is why you shouldn't drink as much as you should. And it's during a panini. During the pandemic. It was during the panini. I got my drink in my hand. I throw on my sneakers. I throw on sweats. Like, I knew I was going to fight. Like, I felt it in my spirit. I drove now his house was literally a hop, skip, and a jump away from my house. So it wasn't that far. And that was great because where I was in Cali, there was like a curfew. So if I wanted to go in the late night, just pew, 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 boom, park in the driveway, done. So I get there and I go to ring the doorbell and I hear Spanish music. And you guys, well, Haitian men, a lot of them do speak Spanish because they are basically Dominican. But this was like Mexican music. So I was like,
Oh,
who he
what's
in there?
going on?
What's going on? So I start ringing the doorbell, and he turns the music down and goes, shh. So I said, did this man? So I went around to the kitchen because I wanted to see, like, is he in there with a woman?
Right.
So I went around to the kitchen, and as soon as I went around, he already closed the blinds. Like he was trying to hurry up and pretend he wasn't home.
Oh my God.
So his driveway was like manicured with rocks, and I picked up a rock and was trying to break his window because I wanted to get in and see what he was doing. And this is why good look good. You know what will do that to you,
girl.
So, I'm trying to open the window. He's not answering. I'm texting this man had enough to tell me he's not home. I heard you.
Right.
Home. So I'm at this guy came over. This Mexican guy. He was like, relax, calm down, because he sees him. He's like, put the rock down. And my friend is literally on the phone while I'm doing this buffoonery. And she's like, Carmen, you have to go home. I don't want you to go to jail. What if he called the cops? And the guy was like, I seen the guy who lives in that house. You look so much better than him. You don't need this. Go. And in my head, I thought he was fine. But when he said that, I said, you know what? You're right. He is kind of ugly.
Right. They always are. Girl, they always are.
But I was stigmatized.
Girl.
So in my head, he was a dark piece of tall chocolate. And
Girl,
we was together in my head.
Wow.
And girl. I got in my car and I went home and I said, what the fuck was that? I told my roommate what happened. My friend is still on the phone, and like they were like, "Girl," I'm like, "Yo, I just wilded out, like trying to break in this man's house with a rock. What if I would have broke this man's window?"
Girl, I'm dying.
And I called my friend who was up. She was like, "Girl, if they would have called, I would have picked it up on because I knew it would have been your crazy ass.
Yeah,
if they would have said his house location, and I would have just picked up the call. You wouldn't have went to jail." I was like, but still, what if I was so confused? And still to this day, well, no, he recently told the truth because we're cool now. And he told me, he was like, yeah, I did have a lady. And he said, but he was like, I was scared of you. He's like, I didn't want to stop dating you. He's like, but then I also want to still have fun. And that's when I learned, like, now that I'm older, this was only 2 years ago, so I'm acting like it's been some years. And I'm so wise now in my 2 years. No,
a lot can happen in 2 years, girl.
I have a skin secret. Do you want to hear it? Are you having difficulty keeping your skin moisturized? Is water, exfoliating, and face creams not working to achieve that dewy look you desire? Maybe facial oils are the key to healthy glowing skin. With Indira Skincare, you can get that no-filter look naturally with the Rose Formula and the Maracuja Formula. The Rose Formula will moisturize and protect your skin with a blend of rosehip oil, jojoba oil, vitamin E, and essential oils to leave your skin with a dewy look and feel. Choose the Maracuja Formula for brighter, glowing skin with a blend of maracuja oil, grapeseed oil, and vitamin C to moisturize and enhance your skin's glow. To purchase your skin secret formula, go to indiraskincare.com as well as Facebook and Instagram at Indira Skincare. Trust, you would thank me later. But I no longer like stress guys and stuff like that. Like if that's what you do, that's what you do, whatever. I don't put too much stock into that anymore. Yeah. But that changed me.
It was like a transformative experience. It was like, like I'm telling you, kind of like how I was in the car and I had to look myself in the mirror and be like, what are you doing? Like literally, like you had that, I'm sure you had that moment afterwards, like, what the hell did I just do? But girl, I don't know. This is why I always say, like, and I've told my girlfriends this, like, I really don't like the feeling of liking people because I feel like that, like this, like my emotions are just like all over the place, especially when it's like y'all are together but y'all not really together, so it's like you don't want to tell them what to do, but you know, like it's just tough, and it just makes you feel like you're losing your mind, literally.
And I don't like that. But
Me
I
neither.
won't lie. Now that I've always meditated and always practiced mindfulness, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm deep into my practice
Mm-hmm.
and I am grounded and centered, my thought on a lot of things has transformed. And I no longer really think of relationships in that way. I'm more of like, what comes my way will come my way. What I attract, I will attract, and if it's for me,
Yeah.
it will be. So
Yeah.
I don't get like anxiety when it comes to men anymore. I can think
Mm-hmm.
clearly. I
Yeah.
can like decide if I like you or if I don't like you and get rid of you and be okay with that. And like,
Right.
I'm telling you, I try to explain to people the practice of meditation and the practice of actually grounding yourself changes
Mm-hmm.
you tremendously. Like when I say I'm changed, I'm changed.
Mm-hmm. And that's a beautiful place to be, and a powerful place to be, because now you're not swayed by your emotions to the
No.
point where, you know, we're pulling up to men's houses like we both did not too long
Trying to
ago.
break windows.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. No, but see, yours was a calm crazy. I like that. See, you're such a lady. I love it.
Girl, I'm dying.
Now, who was your Christian Grey? Because you was like, "Ooh, which one?" Because you wanted to talk about who was your Christian Grey. That's what I want to hear.
So my Christian Grey was definitely my ex. The last relationship I was in, he was definitely my Christian Grey. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I never watched that movie or read the book, but you
Neither
know,
have
that's
I.
such a pop culture reference that, like, I know that he was like basically like a really sexually liberated man who was like a dom and she was a sub.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now we didn't necessarily particular, but I felt like he was the person who let unleash the freak in me. I
Ooh.
guess you could say, definitely. And ever since him, I feel like it's hard for me to find a guy who's going to be on the type of sexually explorative level that I like, because a lot of men just have sex for their pleasure. They don't have sex
Mm-hmm.
for women's pleasure. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like for me, it's like, what's the point of even having sex if I'm not gonna enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
So unless I'm dealing with a guy who's like really on that level, I don't really even be wanting to do it with these men, girl, because like I said, a lot of them only want to do it for their pleasure, not for yours. But I have, as I've grown and I've gotten older, I've definitely become more vocal, and I think that, you know, my Christian Grey taught me that, you know, sex is about both of us.
Exactly.
You know, that was one good thing about him. Like, that relationship was very toxic, for lack of a better words, but I will say the sex life, girl,
Now,
toxic.
what was something, if you don't mind telling us,
Mhm.
that was explorative that opened your eyes sexually? Like, what was that defining moment or that technique or that style that he used that was like, oh, I can do this?
Yeah. I think it was just like the fact that, like, I said before, like the fact that he was one of those guys who his interest was not only him getting off, but he enjoyed me getting off. And so it's like the fact that there are men out there like that, why should I settle for a guy who only cares about him? And then on top of that too, he was very, very open-minded. So, like, you know, him and I would go to sex shops together, and we, you know, explored a little bit of like BDSM, but we didn't get too deep into it. But like, it was fun to know that I had someone who was open in those ways sexually, whereas, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, a lot of guys would be like, oh no, just hitting it from the back and you suck my
Oh
dick and
God,
that's it. You know what I
Lord,
like? Yeah, so
Ugh, I
that's
can't
what I would
stand
say.
that. If you don't, I could tell you don't know how to have sex too. I could look at you and be like, you are whack, and
Girl,
you are not
yes,
going nowhere near my vagina. Like, you are
exactly.
whack.
Because, girl, most of them don't even deserve to touch us, honestly.
No. And they don't. You know, I'm stingy. And like my friends would be like, how can you date somebody and not want to have sex with them? Or how can you? It's like, because girl, I love myself. Like,
Exactly.
I don't care about no man. I don't care if you're interested. I don't go out. I'm not looking for you. So don't look for me. Oh, you could buy me a drink. I can buy me several.
Exactly. You got
So
you. You don't
leave me
need
alone.
somebody to take care of you.
Yeah, and I don't need nobody's dirty little boy sticking a dirty pee-pee. No,
No, but that I know.
See, my Christian Grey was my last relationship. And he actually, believe it or not, it wasn't toxic. He was a really calm person. And I was more like the loud one and the crazy one. He was really calm and like quiet. He meditated also. He did martial arts. He was like he was Japanese and white, and he was just really like Zen. And I loved that about him. Like, you know what I mean? But I would never forget the first time. So he was my Christian Grey for real, because he like was like, do you like getting tied up? And I'm like, what? No. Ooh. In my head, I'm like, that's sorry guys, but that's some white people shit. Like, you know, like I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? In my head. And I didn't want to say that to him. And I was like, he was like, well, you should try it. He was like, I like to do it, and I just want to try it with you. And so in my head, I let him do it, but I was like, you know what? Today's the day I die. Like, in my head, I thought he's gonna kill me, because you know, he was like, you know, wore the plaid button-up shirts, really long beard, long hair. So if you saw him, he looked like maybe he could have been like a serial killer, possibly. You know what I mean? But I liked him, so it didn't matter. But so in my head, I'm like, today's the day. This is it. I'm gonna die, and this is how they're gonna find me, tied up like a turkey,
hog-tied.
But I won't lie to you. I remember you on one of your questions, it was talking about like the orgasm. I had so many different orgasms that night because of the way you are. I hope my brother's not listening to this episode. Will turn this episode off. But I literally had so many different orgasms that night. I was so confused. I think it is the freedom of not having any control over what is being done to your body, and someone having complete control. It allows you to just let loose,
let go. Yeah, girl. And like, it's like, imagine, right? Because I could look at you and I could tell you're a boss in your life. Like, you are very independent. You take care of everything. You know, you are a go-getter. You're working on your PhD. You're doing it. So it's like, when you're a woman and you're doing all of that, think about how in control you have to be. And then it's like, for you to step into a bedroom and completely have the ability to let go and leave someone in charge of taking care of your body in that way, girl. Oh my God. No, I'm guessing you liked. So moral of the story is, I'm guessing you liked it.
Yeah, no, I loved it. It was all the time. Girl, one night I passed out. I fainted because I couldn't take it anymore. I literally passed out. He thought I was dead. He lost his mind. He was so scared. I know he was like, "Shit, this is the day I'm going to jail." Look, the first day was this is the day I'll die. I know he was like, "This is the day I'm going to jail."
Wait, so did you know you passed out?
When I woke up, I did.
Girl, I am dying.
I was like, no. But you know what? What I don't like about how great the sex was, the false sense of love. So I convinced myself that I loved him because the sex was phenomenal.
Wow, girl.
So I thought I was in love, but I wasn't in love. I was in lust because the sex was amazing. So I decided that I loved him and we're going to be together forever.
Wow, girl. That is so real. That is such a real thing. Like, because I feel the same way right now about the guy who I'm currently dealing with, because, you know, like I said, I've been single for so long that it's very hard to find someone who's going to be on that level with you sexually, especially once you've been opened up to certain things. So it's like, once you find that again, it gets to a point where it's like, damn, I don't want to lose this. And so and then you have all these strong feelings too. Like, think about the amount of serotonin and oxytocin and all those what are those called?
Pheromones.
Yeah, that go off when you orgasm.
Wait,
like
yeah, I think they are.
One of them, y'all know what we're talking about, but
somebody do.
Yeah, like, think about that. Like, of course you're gonna feel that connection and that tie to somebody, but you're right, it's not necessarily really love, you know, it's just lust, like you say.
And when I do, so my aunt, I know it sounds weird, guys, but since I was younger, my aunt is my go-to for all things. I mean, I tell her a little too much, but at this point, she's my good girlfriend.
Right.
I'm 36. We are good girlfriends. Okay. So, and whenever I lust over or talk too much about a man, she checks me. She goes, okay, is this reality or is this fantasy? I want you to think about that first before you make a commitment, because once the lust dies down, you may not feel the same way about this gentleman. Right. And she always checks me, and it makes me reflect, like, wait, so do I really like him, or do I really want to be with him, or do I? And I don't like that. I don't like a man who has too good of sex, because, like you said, I like to be in control. So if you're too good, now we together. Now we're married.
Now we having kids with a white picket fence in the house. Like, yes, come on.
And you freaking Jaquavius from the South Side. Like, you can't even get a house. Your credit is bad. So like.
I'm sorry, not Jaquavius.
Because that's who it be. It usually be the F boys. They usually have those names, like John Tavius, Montavius. Because all the grown men are married.
Yep, that's real. And that's so good that you have somebody in your life who can bring you kind of back down to reality in that sense, you know? Because we all need that. We do.
And do you have like your go-to person that if you feel like your reality is distorted a little bit right now, do you have someone that you can go to say, snap out of it?
Yeah, I feel like my mom is definitely that person, and also my two best friends. They are definitely those people for me, you know. And the weird thing about it with my mom is that I feel like I don't even have to tell her really what's going on in my life. She just be knowing the right stuff to say, and it just be like hitting. It just be like, wow, that's exactly what I'm going through right now, and that's exactly what I needed to hear. Ironically, I don't know how you do that, but you know that's what it is. But with my two best friends, they pretty much know who I'm dealing with, what's going on in my life and all of that. So they can see from the outside looking in, like, all right, she says she loved this dude, but like really and truly, I know she does not, you know, it's really probably a lust thing, or like, it's just kind of like, she's been single for so long and she's bored, and he's the closest thing she has to something consistent in her life. So maybe that's why she thinks she loves him, you know, things like that. So yeah, it definitely, it's good to have those people. We all need them.
You do. And I used to have Mossy to bounce ideas. Well, honestly, I don't know how, people who know me and know how Mossy was, she didn't like not one person I was with. And whenever I was with anybody, she's like, I don't like him. I'm like, you don't even know him. You just making that up. You don't like nobody. I don't want him with you. Like, she was my husband, literally, because I don't like the way he walks. I don't like the way his face looks. Like, she made an excuse for everything. Like, if she was my ride or die. I mean, before we continue, have you ever had a ride or die moment with one of your BFFs, and it's like, where did I put my glasses? Like, how the fuck did we get here at this moment? You know, like the black movies and the slow down. How did we get this?
Girl, yes. I've had many moments like that with my girlfriends, and it's like, I feel like those moments are like when you look to your left or you look to your right and you're like, damn bitch, I love you. Like, you really got my back.
Yo, let me tell you what's it had to be, we were young, we were in our 20s at that time, and my ex-boyfriend was absolutely insane, and my mother had just died, and I was tired of him. And I picked up, so in front of my house, where I grew up, it was a tree on the right and then a tree on the left. Right. And there was a branch on the ground, and Mossy and I are arguing with him because he was being absolutely intolerable. So I picked up the branch and started whipping him with the branch because I was so angry. And I remember Mossy pulling off branch sticks to get new ones, so when the branch would die down, I would have more branches to beat him with. And we was beating this man like we was his mammy, okay? And he was running and jumping, and he's so crazy, he didn't even go nowhere. He just trying to grab the stick, and we are fucking him up with this branch. And we talked about this forever. We always talked about it. It's like, yo, did we beat this grown man? Like, we was a child. He needed a beating.
Right.
He really needed to be. If no one was gonna beat him, I was the one. Me and Mossy whipped his behind with them branches, and that was
Girl.
my ride or die moment. That wasn't the moment I knew she was gonna be my BFF. That happened when we were kids, but that was the moment I knew she was gonna ride no matter what.
How old were you guys? Did you say you were in your early 20s?
Yeah, I had to be about. My mom passed when I was 25, so I had to be 25.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Y'all beat that grown man like a child.
Yo, and she really was getting fresh sticks. Like,
she's like, all right, that one dying down. Pick up this one now. Here you go.
Here you go. Here you go. Tearing him up. Okay.
Girl, there's nothing more better than sisterhood, is what I always say. Like, I'm not sure if you watch the show Sex and the City, but you know.
So Sex and the City was our favorite show. I literally watched every single episode, maybe a trillion times.
Yes.
I feel like I'm Samantha.
Oh my gosh, girl. I never get tired of watching that show. And I feel like every time, even though I've seen it front and back so many times, I always, kind of pull something new from it. But, one of the quotes in that show that I will never forget is like, maybe your girlfriends are your soulmates, They're the ones who really, really will understand you in the way that, like, a lot of men will never get you. Samantha was my favorite character also.
Yeah. No, Mossy was definitely my soulmate. Definitely my soulmate. And that's why I tell her, that's why I'm not married. Because you came back as a woman. You were supposed to come to as a man. They got it mixed up. They messed up. So do you have any, so when you're doing your live panels, because guys, she also does live panels and she puts them up on her page if you need to purchase the tickets, right? When you need to purchase the tickets, you usually put them up. You put them up usually for like a month ahead, right?
Yeah, like I start selling tickets for like a while just so I can get as much sold as possible.
How do you choose the people for your live panels? Or do they contact you when they want to do the live panels?
So I'll use the last show that I did as an example. So with that, the last live show I did was about protecting Black women. And I had a panel of myself and 3 gentlemen. So one of them was my cousin, and he actually has his own live cast on Instagram called Do-Rag Discussions, where like him and his boys come together and they talk about different things, from relationships to mental health to problems plaguing the Black community. And it's like very like, laid back. They usually have their do-rags on and they're just, they're literally just having a discussion. So I felt like they would be good to collaborate with on that event because we have similar audiences and we're talking about similar things. And so I wanted to get the male perspective, because often when we're talking about protecting Black women, we're only hearing from the perspective of Black women. So I wanted to get the male perspective on that topic. And so, that's why I reached out to them and had them come on the show and collaborate with me for that. But I usually try to look at it as like, who would be good for this panel discussion? Like, who is going to have insight? Who's going to have the most insight? Kind of like what you were saying, does this topic work for this person, type of thing. So I definitely love to do that for the panel discussions.
I know the live panels are like always it. Like people usually go because they can get like merchandise and they can meet you in person, and they get to be a part of the experience, not just typing it in, but they could be a part. Do you have any upcoming events or shows you would like people to come to or listen into?
So I have some things that I'm working on. I have an event that I'm actually going to be hosting. It's not my event, but I was reached out to by a friend of mine who's starting her own business. It's called Alleviate Lux, and she is working on having a launch party. And at the launch party, she's going to be having a panel discussion. I don't want to give away too much yet, just because it's not mine. But once that information drops, it'll be available. I'll be promoting it on my Instagram. But outside of that, something that I have something that I'm working on that it's an idea that's kind of been in my head for a while now, and I'm really excited to like begin planning it and working on it. And you already know that you'll be one of the first people to know about it. And
Oh,
then once I
yay.
drop it on Instagram, you guys will all hear about it. But I will give a hint. It does pertain to dating, and it's going to be an event pertaining to something like that. So that's pretty
Ooh.
much what I have working on right now.
Oh, so you're gonna be like the millionaire matchmaker? Is that what it is? No.
Never know.
Oh, hey, I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna be looking out for it, and I will make
Yes.
sure I put that up on my page and share the information with everyone. So if they need to contact you, so they can either attend any of the events,
Mhm.
they'll have that information.
Okay. Thank you, girl.
And I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and tell the people how to find you again.
All right, so you can find me on my at Wind Down Wednesday _ page, which is where I do my IG live cast. And then you can also find me on Instagram as well at 20s Hour Pod. But you can find that podcast streaming on all podcast streaming services, so Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all of those great streaming services. But yeah, big things coming up. Make sure you
Yes.
guys follow and support.
Yes. And don't forget to share Where Did I Put My Glasses with your family and friends, not kids though, because it's explicit. I want you to click follow, subscribe. I want you to like it, comment, and you can find Where Did I Put My Glasses on all of your preferred podcasting platforms to stay updated on the latest episodes. Also, guys, the website is up and it's available. You can go to wheredidiputmyglasses.com for information on me, the latest episodes, and you can ask me questions directly. And you can make suggestions for future shows. So you can sign up also to be on my mail list. So when merch is available or I have any upcoming events, you'll be the first to know if you sign up to be on my email list. So with time as we grow, there will be more things available. So make sure you go to that website. And to interact with me now, you can go to Instagram at Where Did I Put My Glasses for your thoughts, questions, or comments on today's episode, as well as the website. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, no, thank you for coming.